Hello. I'm so excited to talk to you about wheels. To whoever decided it was a good idea for a tire brand to start a wheel company? What? To whoever believed that such a thing could be successful? Do they even know how to make wheels? Are you kidding me? You'd actually be right. They did a great job, okay? When Yokohama Tire got sick of running other people's wheel brands when they were racing in the 70s and 80s, they instead decided to start their own brand called Advan, short for advanced. This wheel brand has so many Easter eggs, there's so many unknown facts due to a language barrier that not even Advan seems to want to fix this stuff, which is why we're here as Martini Works to help you decide on a set of Advan wheels and if they're even right for you, because they do cost as much of a house and sometimes they take as long as you waiting for like a refund from a Spirit flight. Now I'm Alex and I promise you will learn something here if you're feeling in a learning mood, and if you're feeling froggy, let me know which is your favorite Advan wheel in the comments below and let's jump right in. Advan Racing wheels, in our humble opinion as one of the biggest dealers of them, is that it's probably like my favorite brand from Japan in terms of monoblock wheels, and I mean that even against the TE37. So what are the available Advan models? Don't fight with me about the TE37 comment, I stand on it, okay? The brand hosts a ton of different models. You have the TC4, the RZDF2, the RG4, the ONI2, the progressive version of that, the R6, the RS2, the RZ2, the GT, the Premium and the Beyond, the RG3, the RSDF, the RT, the RZ, the RSD, the RSDF, and the RS model. Pay attention, I'll be quizzing you later. Now, while the nomenclatures of the names is very confusing, the best way to think about Advan is that they operate less like a cookie crumble, you know, where every month there's new flavors and the old ones have just disappeared and you don't really know what you're gonna get, and a bit more like Porsche, where the model updates are just iterations off a core platform. Like the 911 engine is in the wrong place, but they're too stubborn and they're just gonna keep making it better until they make the GT3 RS. Advan is a bit like that. Advan Racing models operate off of iterations of previously designed models, with things like the RG4 being the fourth iteration of the RG lineup, which stands for Racing Gymkhana. The Advan TC4 is the next iteration of the TC3. And for most of this brand, you'll see things like that. Now, unlike the garbage succession that they made to Captain America and Marvel, most of the newest versions of Advan wheels are objectively better than their predecessors. However, it's important to note that Advan chooses to release their wheels in very limited sizes, colors, and volumes. Most of the recent wheel releases from Advan serve a very specific platform need, which is why the secondhand market on this brand is so strong. The Advan Racing GT Premium came out in 2012 for 20-inch, which was meant specifically for the R35 GTR. So what does that mean for us? It means that a lot of Advan fitments are generally for Japanese sports cars first, and almost exclusively. High width, high offset wheels don't really exist in their catalog yet, which means if you're a Corvette guy, you'll be running spacers to make these wheels work. But why are they so expensive? Honestly, good question. Japanese wheels will always be more expensive. Fun fact, that's just how the world works. But why work wheels are really expensive is because they're the attention to detail, the fact that they're all custom made to order and they can make them in funky sizes. Why Volk racing wheels are expensive is because their forgings are really expensive and because they have a fancy machine to make them 10,000 tons of pressure to make their TE37. Plus, Americans love the six-spoke like it's a cult. Okay, Advan Racing is expensive, but only for certain models. You'd actually be pretty surprised to see that comparatively, some Advans actually aren't as much as you'd guess. The forged stuff is going to kick your favorite child a bit, but if you're single and lonely and hoping a girl will text you back, these wheels will cost you, comparatively, 42 dates if you spend $100 a date. I think it's worth it, and here's why. The biggest cost reason outside of the metal itself is the quantity of molds that Advan uses for their wheels. Because their wheels are iterations off of each other, and because the brand is in Japan, known as Yokohama Wheel, they focus a ton on racing. So the brand spends most of its money on the development of unique one-piece molds that can fit in ever-evolving line of big break race cars. Take, for instance, the illustrious, the sexy Advan GT Beyond, okay? A 5-spoke smoke show of a wheel. It has 5 different concavity profiles for just the face, and every single one of those concavity profiles requires a unique mold. Those molds can cost anywhere to $6,000 to $10,000 to crack, and to maintain a high quality output, they have to replace those molds frequently enough that it becomes a pretty big expensive item. But we did say that not all of them cost as much as an MB Miata. That's true. The RG4, the TC4, the R6 are all about half the price of their forged lineup. That's because of the manufacturing process. Assume if a forged wheel costs you $4,500 from Advan, the flow-form variant will be about $2,750 or so. It's not cheap, but we're talking about Advan. So which wheels are forged versus flow-form, and how the hell do you tell the difference between all the models? This confuses me every time because they're not very good at it. Here's a list of flow-formed and forged wheels, taking out of account what the company still makes because there's tons of secondhand places to buy old Advans, okay? Now, they will call it different things, so keep that in mind. Mold formed, spin forged, flow formed. Flow formed is flow formed, but spin forged is different. The GT, GT Premium, GT Beyond, the RSDF, the RSDF Progressive, the RSDF 2, that's all forged. Flow formed stuff is like your RG4, your R6, your RT, your RSD, your Oni 3. Very, very cool wheel, not motorsports related at all. Now, how do you boil down the different types of wheels in the Advan family? Because there are a lot. Like, there is a lot. It can get a little messy. And also, things like the TC4 being 5 spokes confuses a lot of people. Confuses me too, okay? We boiled down the models into different families, starting off with the RG/RS and RZ models. I would call these like the flagship Advans. In here you have like the RG4, a flagship model with a thin, narrow 6-spoke and super aggressive design elements for weight savings without losing strength. It's a cast single-piece construction, which does mean it's kind of the best value in its lineup, but it's not gonna beat out something like Koenig Forged that you can get for the same price. But the design of the RG4 is unmistakable, and keep in mind that this variant has been made since 1995. The RG2 came out in 2004, the RG3 came out in 2011, the RG4 came out in 2021. That's insane! It's literally the Porsche of aftermarket wheels. But then you have things like the RSDF Progressive, Beyond, Premium. All those sort of little nomenclatures are iterations on the core design model, okay? But you also have things like the RS3, the RS, the RS4, some older models. Now, the DF Progressive is an insane multi-spoke wheel and the subsequent of like the RS3 design language. It looks incredible anywhere where an 18-inch wheel belongs. FDRX7, 3000 GT, S15, all of it. As you get into the newer model of Advans, you'll also find that they tried to make a cast version and a forged version of similar style wheels with the various face concavities to meet cars with big brakes up to 400 millimeters. So if you're ever seeing an Advan with like a core name but you don't see the Beyond or the GT, that's usually the base. When you see Beyond, Premium, all that other stuff, like I said, it's an iteration on top of it. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. A lot of times those are just versions of the wheel to increase its width, offset, or diameter sizing. It's not necessarily like a better wheel. Now you do have the RZ DF2, the RZ2, the RZ F2. Those are more modern designs with sizings that begin to tailor more towards like the European vehicles like Porsche, Mini, and they even come in some center lock fitments, which is pretty interesting. Now I'm gonna give you an ADHD check because I've given you a lot of acronyms. Here you go. Welcome back. Then you have the TC and F family, with the TC4 being the flagship model right now that also hits that BRZ, FRS, GR86 market, and some European car sizing. They're flow formed, they're lightweight, they look killer. I love them. I would actually take out another human being for a set so that I can put them on one of my cars. Now the Oni is a killer 3-spoke, but there's 0% about it being a motorsport, even though people drift on this. It looks sick, that's all I can say about it. The R6 is a mid-priced wheel, sizes between 18 and 20 inches. It looks badass, and you'll love them on any car. Now, we have to talk about the GT. The GT line of Advan, in my opinion, is like the universal line that everyone should love. The GT line is perfect. If you disagree with this, you're probably wrong. And I don't mean that in a bad way. We just haven't gotten around to talk to you yet. Like if you're looking at the GT and you're like, they're overrated, they're boring, they're lame, wrong. Don't tell anybody that in public. Say it to yourself in the bathroom 3 times and the CEO of Advan will show up behind you. The Advan GT is literally the perfect wheel. Now, you will be paying an exorbitant amount of money for these, but I do want to say, like, I would commit high levels of illegal and dangerous acts for a set for my cars. Now to me, the R6, the TC4, the RG4, those are all incredible wheels. But this one, the GT, it's perfect. And its submodels strictly expand upon the size and fitment of this wheel, along with smaller designs and details and like the engraving design. Now the GT Premium had exclusive finishes and the GT Beyond got more aggressive concavities. The only problem here is, like I said, they are hard to get, and you will be waiting a bit if you order them. But bonus points, if you get them, you'll love them. These are like, mwah. The RZDF is hot, the RG3 is extreme concavity. Options, weird pause there. The RSD, the R2, and the older RS lines are all but discontinued. So what are 3 reasons you'd spend the money on Advan and maybe 1 reason you wouldn't? Now, me personally, I think the first reason is their attention to detail is huge. And the way they've managed to manufacture wheels that meet those high, huge, big brake clearance needs out of a single piece wheel is nothing short of extraordinary. The reason I keep mentioning molds and I keep mentioning one-piece wheels is because that's a big piece of what makes Advan. And when you make a forged wheel, it's very easy to go out and make a forged wheel that has extreme amounts of concavity or has really interesting widths and offsets because you're using one big chunk of metal, you have just a nice little slope, and then you cut everything out from that. But when you start getting into making a wheel where the face is cast and the barrel is flow formed, that's when you start getting into some tricky pickle situations because a lot of Advan wheels are actually flow formed wheels, which means the face of that thing is cast. A lot of people will actually cause and give Advan a lot of grief for this because most people are going into forged wheels at the same price that Advan is offering a flow-formed wheel. But when you look at the actual design elements of something like an RG4, it is insane to see how they're able to actually make this wheel because by all intents and purposes, you shouldn't be able to. These wheels are incredibly difficult to make, and Advan has found a way to make it work, and they look incredible. It's easy to get these big brake clearances on multi-piece wheels. Those in my head are cheaters. It's how they do it on a single-piece flow-formed wheel that seems insane. It's tough, and they make it work, and you'll find it in very interesting details of the wheels to actually get the strength that they need to make this wheel actually work on a racetrack. I'm glazing it, okay? But the wheels are stunning. Okay, we've done unboxings in the past, but every single one has been perfect. I would kiss it if I wasn't gonna get judged. Okay, they're limited colors, design elements like the scallop shaving inside the spokes to reduce weight. The tapered spoke edges and all the smaller designs make these wheels look expensive without even knowing the technology behind them. Did I say I would kiss a wheel? I did. Does that make you uncomfortable if this is the first video you watched? Probably. Which brings me to number 3. The relentless effort, okay, is like those spam calls I get on my phone right now. They just don't stop pushing what a wheel can do. Like truly, they feel like the wheel version of Porsche. And there's a lot of respect behind that. They aren't trying something new every single month. They are just trying to make the wheel slightly better every time they release a new mold. But the biggest reason I might not pull the trigger, Advans on the flow-form side are great wheels, but they're still expensive. That and the fact that we have a lot of people modifying Corvettes, Mustangs, M3s, and 335s means that sometimes they aren't actually the best value. Pricing compared to a flow-form Advan in a more conservative size being the same price as a Koenig forged at a much more aggressive size is tough. So if you're strictly looking for bang for your buck, you're not gonna find it in the Advan lineup of wheels. But is that why you're buying them? So if you're looking for Advans or need help sourcing a set from Japan or any wheels and tires, including packages shipped right to your door, shoot us a message over at martiniworks.com. We'd love to help. Plus, we've got the lowest prices guaranteed and a lifetime order guarantee with our US-based customer service team because we want you to have a good time. We're proud of the things that we promote, and we hope this video helped you out a bit. And if it did, let me know because we read all the comments. We read all the comments. Facebook, you're scary. I'm Alex Martini on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.